I hope that now you hear me. Okay. We will have a great panel discussion today. So we will manage a topic which is fintech strategy and what's next for Latvia. We'll have a great panel to do that. Unfortunately, one of the members will be not here today. It's Gvido for finance, but we will still have another person from the lending industry. So I really think that we'll be just fine. So without any further ado, I would like to invite our participants, and I will start with Marine from FCMC. So you can, you're here, so first row, that's really nice. You can pick the chair that you want. Just to give a quick introduction, so she's the Director of Financial Innovations Department at FCMC, which is Latvian regulator for finance industry. She has an extensive experience in this sector, which is fintech and also banking sector. So I'm definitely sure that she will be very kind with us to share her thoughts on the matter and the industry. Next up, we have another person from a governmental organization. So it's Aya Zicere. You can also pick the chair, so that's a win. And she's from Ministry of Finance. She's Director of Financial Market Policy Department. Again, enormous experience in the industry. If I can trust LinkedIn, so you're for 20 years in this specific organization, so definitely a lot to share with us on fintech, banking, and anything that goes with finance. She also holds an important position at European Investment Bank as being a part of board of directors. Next up, we will have Modestas. I'm not sure how to pronounce the surname, so I will not... Sudnius, okay. So there you go. He's a CEO at 11 Group, so from private sector, one of the largest lending companies in the region, and they're operating across the globe in many geographies, and he will be sharing the knowledge that he has from the industry with us. So that's the lending part, and then finally we'll have Martin Sputje, who's working on crypto side, so he's Chief Legal Officer at Gravity Team, which is also a local company here in Latvia. And he will be sharing his insights not only on the legal side, but generally where does the crypto industry stand and what are our opportunities maybe also in the Latvian market. I will also sit down because otherwise it's going to be pretty weird. We now know you, but I think that great beginning at all this could be if you could shortly tell about your companies, because I'm sure that most of you know companies that are, well, persons from the companies that are sitting here, but maybe you can just give a quick introduction about the business. And Modestas, you can maybe start on the story of 11. Why are you in Latvia? How did it start, and where do you stand as of today?
Sure. So I'm, I guess, the only one representing lending institution here. So 11 Group started a little bit more than 10 years ago here in Latvia. Why in Latvia? First of all, the founders were Latvian. Secondly, we started with used vehicle financing product, and at that time there has been no other way how to get a financing to buy a used vehicle. Which is very different nowadays. So there was an obvious market niche, and yeah, so Latvia was a great place to start. And I think up to this day, for our company, Latvia is still a test ground for any new products. If we started with vehicle financing and focus for subprime segments, now we have products across the different segments for near prime. We even have rental products. Recently, we even invested in electric car sharing company. So basically, we've come a long way, and what has started in Latvia has developed across the globe. We're present from Baltics to East Africa. We're operating in 14 markets, and 11 story has really been a growth story, because last 5 years we've been growing around 30% year over year in core financial indicators. Yeah, we don't plan to stop, even though I guess these days the atmosphere is maybe not as positive as it was some 9 months ago, but we've already faced COVID not so long time ago, which I believe most of the companies have coped with very successfully, our as well. So we look at this, let's say, upcoming turbulences just as an opportunity, just another challenge in our story. So happy to be here.
Thank you very much. Martin, maybe you can share the story of Gravity.
Yeah, sure. Why are we in Latvia? Basically, also we have Latvian founders. But the thing is that the Gravity team actually didn't start in Latvia. We have moved here comparatively recently. But how it all started, our founders were living in different places globally, in Southeast Asia, in Europe. And they noticed a huge price difference in crypto in different exchanges between Asian exchanges and European exchanges. They started thinking on how to correct this situation, how to make the market more efficient, and came up with certain algorithms and trading strategies to correct that. Yeah, from then it evolved further. And what we actually are, Gravity team, is a high-frequency algorithmic crypto trading firm. So what does it mean? High frequency, we trade a lot, and we hundreds of thousands of trades per day. Algorithmic, so we do not do it manually. It's all done by algorithms and bots created by our developers and traders. And yeah, crypto, we trade only crypto. We do not trade any other financial assets, no stocks or anything like that. So, and yeah, currently we are trading around 1% of global spot volume in crypto spot markets. So that's actually quite a lot, but we're aiming to get higher. And currently the times are a bit slower, a bit less stressful, so we can continue to develop our algorithms and aim for even higher market share.
Thank you. Yeah, so I think those are interesting stories. Maybe a bit of different times when the companies were made, but if we look back for comparison, sorry. We are now, as you mentioned, in more turbulent times, right? So maybe the economy is lagging a bit as we see that inflation is going a bit crazy. People, like, consumer confidence is down, so it's a bit more struggling for the companies as well. And also there's of course a role for government in times like that. So we saw that back in 2008 and 2009 in Latvia, there was also a time when great companies were created, like, for example, as one of the attendees here and supposedly the other, for Finance and a Living Group, were founded during those times. So it would be interesting maybe to hear, do you see some similarities with these times? Because it's said that during the crisis, it's a really good time to build also products. And what's the role of the government, maybe institutions? Are there some incentive programs or anything on that direction? How do you kind of promote creating new companies or get other companies coming to Latvia?
Okay.
Well, you can just go ahead.
Maybe I will start. I probably, as working 20 minutes of Ministry of Finance, I'm kind of a crisis survivor. Started with joining EUs and financial crisis, joining Euro, then ABLV and COVID and war in Ukraine. So yes, quite, that's the only thing about working with financial markets is that we're pretty sure there will be crisis. We just don't know what type and what the consequences will be. I would say that for specifically financial markets and as well fintechs, at this particular point when we are facing the war in Ukraine, we actually see the benefits of the work we've done previously, because we have done a major financial sector reform. We have actually have learned to manage risks, not to avoid, not to ignore, but work with the risk, and that's quite important, and it has helped to have a strong sanction compliance. We are not so surprised as some other financial sectors in EU or otherwise, so that has been extremely helpful. And if I look at the homework for government, which was shown on that one specific slide by Tina, then yes, we do probably fall back from Estonia and Lithuania in some areas. We haven't chosen path to be aggressively selling our jurisdiction, ignoring risks. A bit harsh, but there are some issues in some of the approaches. We've done that earlier, actually. It didn't end well. There were few bumps, and actually those that's the historical heritage didn't allow us to.
But that's like
sell
one of
fintechs
the
at them.
reasons. Those are one of the reasons why the government in Latvia has chosen maybe to not go that aggressively compared to other Baltic states.
Maybe
Actually, yes, but I'll let Marina continue later. But in some extent, yes. But if you look, for example, when I started with working with financial markets, we were very keen about financial services exports. It was a hot topic, and then turned out if you don't do compliance at one point, as a part of the world doesn't want to cooperate with you, and it doesn't really work like that. And it took quite a long time to sort it out. It was not in a one go, and actually at that point when we really could have launched fintechs with these, we already had quite a big burden which we had to sort out. And as I started with saying that we really had to learn not to avoid, not to ignore risks, but to work with them. At this point we are more comfortable, and I really believe that we'll be able to move forward with actually sustainable development. Not ESG, but just sustainable, something which can last, that we don't have unexpected surprises, or there will be surprises, but we'll be more able to work with them. And one of the best outcomes of our reforms is we know we have a financial market supervisor who's not maybe we just trying to avoid risks or etc., but are able to work. And so I'll let our star Marina to continue. She wanted to say.
Thanks. Yeah, I think that each crisis is unique. So if you even learn something from the previous crisis, it doesn't mean you will be fully prepared for the next one, because the next one is coming and bringing something new on the table. But it should not be the positive or negative factor. It should be a realistic factor to evaluate. If you will be able to stand and wait until the sun, so you will never start anything. And it should be absolutely clear for anyone. Historically, it was always like Latvian have two core competences. One wasn't in the finance area, another one is a tech area. And those two actually have been formed, our whole financial sector, during the latest 20 years. We have got new technologies quite quickly, even we skip something. We haven't, for example, used checkbooks. I don't know if anyone had a checkbook, but in some countries still have people using that. So we hadn't like a huge tech tools for the cards, that's in some cards. So it was a huge digitalization process, how to take out the old process and new one. So we have started in very good positions when our banks have been already restored the core system or built from the white paper, yes, from the white page. And if we will look to the fintech area, yes, there were no a specific regulation. From one point, it is a very good start. When you can start to develop anything. From other part, you will start to think that, okay, we need something to match, we need something not with able or with a target to cut, but to regulate in order to understand what are the risks. Are we playing with the risks? And one of the risks was in Latvia that we haven't been touched so quickly and haven't been identified maybe, or it was resulted from AML. And at that time, if we look also to the graphs that have been presented today in the report, then when we had a very low rate of the decreasing rate starting from 2017, it was a result of the fate. So when we started to identify that, yes, we have problem in the country, it is not like only in the fintech area, it is all the financial area, all the other companies in the financial, and it is a huge priority for all the countries, and all institutions were working under one risk, so how we can decrease this risk. And actually it was a huge job done during this year. Sometimes we are not like liking to put ourselves good marks like excellent. We think that like good enough, okay, we did it well. But in this area, we have achieved excellent work. I'm really sure that such an ML setup that currently we have in Latvia, I'm not really sure that some European countries also have. So it has been just perfectly done by all the governmental institutions. And after that, when all the staff have been reviewed, with all those risks have been identified, and all this reconstruction have been completed, now you can start work on the development side. And that's how we have given this new start for the industry. And currently, of course, the government institutions are more open to the development. Of course, we are developing the regulation not with the aim to regulate the company, but with the aim to protect the customer. Because we also have a customer on the table, and it is our main consumer, our main, how to say this, decision-making body. So we need to not only with the financial literacy, but also with the tooling and instrument. And all this together, of course, with regulation, and I just want to add that the regulation in Europe is unequal in each and every country. So if sometimes we're hearing that, yes, it is not possible in Latvia due to regulation, show me which regulation, because we have even regulation. We have no any kind of differences between Estonia or Luxembourg or Sweden or whatever. So we have same. Yes, we have some small national level acts, but they are not have such a huge impact as we are evaluating. So that's why I think that right the time we need to learn how to work, how to exist, how to create, and how to develop in such a fully changing environment. And this uncertainty, complexity, vulnerabilities, it was always, it's a new normal. And you need just to accept it, because you could not like decrease all the risk or forget about the risk. You can accept those risks. And you have to think, okay, so how we can develop and survive with this risk, because it will be next crisis in Latvia in this way. I fully agree, it's a good platform, way to learn in this case. And working in this vulnerability situation will make the companies much more stronger. And if it is a company, a fintech company, which have a good idea with a fantastic team and have a scalable business model, they will find the financing. They will find a way where how to develop, because good companies always survive. So in any crisis.
Okay. One thing that I remember that I didn't mention, but you probably saw on the TVs, you can ask questions. So you can just scan the thing or just go to the website, and we will try to grab a couple of questions at the end of the discussion. But you mentioned a couple of times about the consumers, and I guess the only company that is working really directly with consumers is here with Eleving Group. What do you see currently? Because we have been talking about what is happening currently. So what is happening is the central banks are raising the rates, so the cost of capital is going up. So that also is kind of impacting you as a company. And maybe you can just mention, that would be, I don't know, useful probably for the listeners. What are the real practical steps that you are taking to manage the risks that have raised just like during the last 6 or something months?
Sure. First of all, I would say that we're using word crisis. I think it's probably too early to use that word crisis, because okay, was certain elements of that, but I think one big element is how consumers behave, and we're operating, okay, not only in Latvia, we're operating across the globe, and actually up to this point we don't see that customers' behavior have changed somehow significantly, that indebtedness levels have increased. And I think here I'm talking really not only about our company, but about the industry itself. Like we're talking with our competitors or peers. I think so far was no practical, let's say, indicators of people not being able to cover their indebtedness. I'm not saying that it's not coming. I think still, like, we're maybe living in this maybe still bubble, like with like a lot of enthusiasm after summer. I think there was a lot of like consumption has not stopped, and then we also see from the demand side that actually people are still like we're still receiving a record number of applications and so on. So I think majority of people are maybe still not realizing that okay, it might be like upcoming 6 months might be tougher than the previous 6 months. So that's one thing, but of course we are being realistic. For sure, we will feel something. To what extent? I guess that's hard to comment. I also think that governments across Europe, across other countries, they are doing a great job to kind of trying to absorb that. And I think this is maybe if it's going to be a crisis, it's going to be slightly different because. Everyone is so well prepared, and then I think it's not overnight happened, and then there was also COVID, which was some kind of crisis just very recently. So I'm maybe just trying to put some positivity here, but what we are doing and what I think is very simple steps. First of all, of course, you need to already be more conservative in how you lend. You need to if customers are maybe not understanding always, how much they can borrow, you need to help there because you need to maybe be more conservative, especially at this time when you don't really know what's going to be the effect within next 6-9 months. So, basically underwriting, and I think these days for fintech companies, that's very easy to do because you're getting access to so many data. You know your customers, especially companies which have been working in the market for a long time. So you can really, let's say, cut it. It doesn't mean that you need to reject customers. Maybe maybe the tickets have to go smaller and things like that. Secondly, you need to look into your own operations. I think we heard many good thoughts that strong companies will survive, and I think, or like very good ideas will survive, and they'll get funding. I completely agree with that. And I think good, strong companies which are ready both from process side and from capital structure, it's going to be probably a time for opportunities for them because for sure some companies will exit or their market share will shrink, or maybe some companies will be overly conservative. So that's always happened in lending industry. So I think people who will be able, companies who will be able to use that opportunity, who will be able to adopt, who will be able to write the fine timing, and who just has the firepower basically to do that, right capital structure, right debt structure. So that's going to be the key to success. Speaking about our company, we were, I would say, also quite fortunate because we refinanced or we raised majority of our debt. Like we have close to 300 million loan book, and then we have raised 200 million of bonds of different maturities over last year. So timing was great for us, and of course most of that was also at fixed rates. So that's very fortunate. But what we see and what's I think stopping some of the development for us, and I think for companies like us, is that of course attracting new funds. It's first of all it's difficult because capital markets they don't like uncertainty. They better wait. And secondly, it's expensive. So I would also say that at these times it's probably better to grow less, but also borrow at an affordable rate so that you would not get yourself into a situation which it might be not that easy to overcome. And last thing, I think efficiency. So like part of the whole fintech idea is okay, not only serving the customer in a very efficient way, but also being an efficient organization. How you manage your HR expenses, how you manage everyday processes. So here again, I think companies which were maybe used to kind of lift from up to next fundraising round, I think they might have tough times unless they're able to maybe grow less, but maybe maintain or come to some profitability levels, because I don't think that in next 12-24 months investors will be really very interested in companies which are burning cash at a very high rates. So I would say mix of those things depending on a company maturity level and so on.
Okay, great insights. And maybe you mentioned that we could also focus on the challenges that are ahead, because there are always some opportunities for the companies, right? So in like looking on those opportunities, Gravity team is one in crypto industry. And as we have heard today, like during a couple of times, I think already, there's a MiCA regulation coming, and another chart that was displayed on the screen, maybe, where Latvia is standing behind, well, as of today, Estonia and Lithuania. So maybe you can just briefly talk about what is MiCA regulation, because I'm not sure that everybody knows. And then maybe you see how we could be the country for the crypto companies to come to, not the neighbors.
Sure. So what is MiCA? Yeah, that is a new upcoming regulation. In full, it's regulation in markets in crypto assets. So basically, it will regulate crypto market participants. Among other things, it will contain provisions regarding licensing of different crypto market participants, like exchanges and brokerages and so on. The text has been agreed on EU level already. It will be adopted soon, and after that there will be a transitionary period, and it fully will become effective in the end of 2024 or beginning of 2025. That depends. And yeah, we actually see this as an opportunity for Latvia, because as I mentioned, MiCA contains requirements for licensing of crypto companies, and the good thing in that is that the license will be passportable across whole EU, meaning that if you receive a license in one country, you can afterwards freely operate in all 27 EU countries. So this is something that Latvia could use. We would suggest Latvia to become a kind of a crypto hub in EU. A lot of countries are expressed a wish to be a crypto hub, like UK, Singapore, United Arab Emirates, and others as well, or all across the world. In EU, there are also several countries that would like to possibly target those crypto companies, but we see that Latvia is already in quite a good position to do that. As was mentioned before, we have quite good ecosystem and environment for fintechs overall. We have a regulator that was really praised by market participants earlier, and as well other good things like nice regulation for corporate income tax and so on, and stock option regulations and so on. So we have already some good things that we could offer to those crypto companies who would potentially want to serve European market from Latvia. And then we would propose that Latvia could think about what else we could do, what else we could propose, and how else we could show that those companies are really welcome here, and that they can do good business from here. And one thing that I heard from representatives of the state was that we have actually done a really good job on getting AML environment in order, and kind of positioning Latvia better to deal with different kind of compliance risks. And I think if we have made such a huge investment on that part, then probably it's worthwhile to look at the crypto companies and think if we are ready to take on some new risks, of course, in that part, but considering that maybe we can manage them better than other countries. And yeah, the slide was up there with the number of crypto companies in Estonia and Lithuania, which were a lot higher than in Latvia. But there are, I would say, few particular reasons for that. First of all, Estonia introduced a really kind of loose licensing regime some years ago, and a lot of crypto companies that wanted to seem more legitimate and market and place themselves better in the market, and when addressing consumers, they went there and got their licenses. And afterwards, Estonia actually struggled with those companies because there weren't enough checks and during the licensing process. Well, basically, there were really few checks. And then the trend actually reversed some time ago when Estonia introduced more stringent requirements for licensing. A lot of those companies were kicked out, and the kind of it's my assumption that quite a few of them landed in Lithuania actually.
Okay.
And
so
that's why those the statistics look like that. And that's not necessarily a bad thing. I think that both of those countries are kind of a bit, they didn't approach it correctly, I would say. I think that Latvia is in a good position to approach this market correctly and to onboard good kind of companies that can add value, that can add really knowledge and improve the environment of fintechs in Latvia. If we do that correctly, we do not need to have like 800 licensed crypto companies, like 50 or would be great already.
Yeah, I think it makes sense because Latvia is not that large probably, and Estonia, Lithuania as well. So we have to manage to regulate them, the companies as well. The sad part is that we are really running out of time. So I hope that you did vote for those questions because we'll go to them. I will just give you 30 seconds to each of you to give like the last sentence maybe from yourselves on which is the key thing that you believe that Latvia can do to have a success in this maybe market where countries are competing with each other for the best companies. So Marin, you can just start and maybe we can lead the way.
Yeah, 30 seconds will be challenging.
Yeah.
But actually, I think the one thing we can do, and it is the most important one, if we as an industry, as governmental institutions and other involved stakeholders can agree on some common goals, follow those goals, set up the KPIs for those goals, and be united under this one area, and use not only our own competences, but also involve our diplomatic channels across the Europe or across the globe to use them in order to involve and attract other companies from the globe that they would choose Latvia as a home place for global business. But I think the most majority is like we need to have one thinking and one way of application and one strategy, one view of that, and input we have to provide. Each of us have to provide input for that. It's not like a job for one institution.
Common strategy across all the involved parties.
Yes, we'll probably, we're just in a process of submitting our fintech strategy to the government. That's one job we're almost finished, but probably for us as ministry, it's implementing MiCA regulation will be the probably the most important step we'll have to take and move forward, because that's one of the areas we don't have regulation yet.
Okay.
So nothing to add from regulatory part from my side, but but I think it from my point of view, it should be still talent pool. I think Latvia has a great talent pool, and also we have a by language, like you have many people who speaks not only perfect English but also perfect Russian, and I think for such a small population, you should not be afraid to tap into Russian-speaking pools, whether it's Ukraine, whether it's Belarus, where there's like a lot of IT development, which I think will be available very soon. Already is available, and why not? Why can't those people develop for startups, for companies based in Latvia? So that from Latvia, even though it's a very small market, but I think from Latvia you could develop global businesses, and I think that should be the ambition of local entrepreneurs.
Okay.
Yeah, I agree with the things mentioned before me, and not to not repeat. I think that we would need to do a lot more marketing, and sell this message that Latvia is willing to accept fintechs, and this is a good place to set them up and work, because it's we're not hearing it that much. It's kind of we're always in the shade of Estonia or Lithuania, and I think in large part we're doing also similar and very good things, sometimes even better, but we lack in selling those things and messages.
Okay. Marketing specialists necessary basically for country. It is what it is. It's a decent.
I do not know if we need a marketing specialist or anything. I think it's more of willingness to do that. And yeah.
Okay, thank you very much. I think we can grab at least one question, two, one sounds reasonable, I guess. So we'll take the one with the most upvotes. So it goes like this. When lending-based consumer crowdfunding will be allowed in Latvia? I don't know who of you feels like answering this one.
Lending-based crowdfunding, I mean, the crowdfunding service providers are already in place. We have also already issued one license, and you are welcome, actually. It is already in place, if the question was regarding the service providers.
I don't know. That's the question that I have.
I might guess. We have a lending-based crowdfunding regulated,
Yeah.
but it's you can go this direct lending only if it's not consumer lending.
Yeah,
Consumer
maybe that's the
lending is
question.
not under, but consumer lending currently goes as a financial instrument. It's under this regulation. We might consider it, but it's not in the current pipeline yet.
Yeah. Maybe to add to this, like, I think the bigger challenge that it's regulated through Europe, so you can't like really decide in Latvia that we can go ahead with that. Just not possible. But thank you very much for your insights. I think that they were very valuable, and I hope that you enjoyed them. So let's give a round of applause for our speakers for today.